Yo, what is good, YouTube? In today's video, I'm giving you guys my top 5 zero recoil loadouts. If you enjoyed the video, let's break 250 likes. Also, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so for our first gun here today, we're going to be jumping into the Model L. This is one of the lowest recoil ARs you guys can use in the entirety of Warzone, and I got you guys, of course, with the best build for it. So first thing in the optics section, we have a couple optics in which we can choose from. Basically, we can go down here and get thrown like a Kepler micro reflex. If you guys want to go for a red dot, if you want to go down here a little bit further, of course, I'll give you guys, of course, all the options. We have the acute spot reflex, which is pretty solid as well. My personal favorite right now is the Kepler red dot. This is a 1.25 times magnification. I play on Rebirth Island primarily, so this works out great for me. But if you guys want something a little bit more so, a little bit of a bigger zoom, you can go down here for the Jason Armory 2x or the Willis 3 times. I wouldn't really go past the Willis 3 times. I'm gonna stick basically to the Willis, the Jason Armory, the Kepler red dot, and or like a red dot of choice. Pretty much one of those optics. You really can't go wrong. It's just a little bit of personal preference. Not gonna make or break your build. It's just about how you want to play with the gun. For me personally, I like the Kepler red dot. After that, in the muzzle section, we're gonna go through here. We're gonna go throw on the compensator, and what this is gonna do is help us with our overall vertical recoil. This is gonna make it so the gun has virtually no recoil. We definitely need that. Of course, we still have to stabilize it out otherwise, but overall, the compensator will do the absolute most for you. So I would say for you guys to go ahead and run the compensator. After that, in the barrel section, we're gonna go down here. We're actually gonna use the very first barrel in this, which is the gain twist barrel. And the reason being is because the Model L has a great damage range already. Normally speaking, for a lot of guns, you're gonna be using the reinforced barrel for ARs, but we don't really need to increase our damage range. We just wanna get that maximum increase to your overall bullet velocity. So that puts you out to about that 1100 meter per second mark, or just over 1000. It's right around that. Unfortunately, I can't click onto it and show you guys because they don't allow you to do that here within this menu, but it does get out to that mark, which is right where you want to be, about that 900 to 1100 meters per second. That's really solid for an assault rifle in this version of Warzone. So you get there and you have about that 50 meters of damage range, which is essentially the upper end of where you can be. And without even having to increase it at all, I think you guys will be fully taken care of by running the gain twist, as opposed to something like the long barrel or the reinforced barrel. If you don't want to go for the long barrel, but you could probably get away with running the reinforced if for whatever reason you just maybe like the way it looks, or you want to have something that has a little bit more damage range. But otherwise, the gain twist is where you want to be. After that, in the underbarrel section, we're just going to go down here and throw on the vertical foregrip. This gives you, of course, the maximum amount of horizontal recoil control you guys can possibly get. I'd say this is all you really should be running on your assault rifles. There's no reason to run something different. It's not like it's an SMG where you can get away with running a different underbarrel, but overall, generally speaking, the vertical foregrip is the move. And lastly, in the magazine section, we go down here and throw on the extended mag 2, which is going to be our final attachment. This gives you 50 rounds in the mag. Of course, it's not doing anything for recoil control. It's just your base magazine size, and you definitely should be having 50 rounds in the mag. It is your long range option, so you need to have those extra rounds. It's not like you're playing maybe solos. You could get away with a 40, but even then, I'd still probably run a 50. I just go for something like a 50 and call it a day. This is my full build. Now let's move on to the next one. Next up, let's give you guys an SMG build here, which is going to be for the PP919. This is pretty much like your number 1, number 2 SMG. And for one of the reasons of it has a great damage profile, great TTK, the fire rate's pretty solid, and it's got very little to zero recoil. And I'll give you guys the best build here to minimize the recoil. First thing in the muzzle, we're going to go throw on that compensator, and this, realistically speaking, is almost about as much as you need for general recoil control on the PP919. After that, your attachments kind of fall in line a lot more with the meta-based attachments. If you guys don't want to run a compensator for whatever reason, this is one of those SMGs where you can get away with running a suppressor just because it doesn't have the extra attachment slots like an underbarrel, which something like the Jackal PDW has. So go for the suppressor, or if you want maximum recoil control, the compensator. Barrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on that long barrel, and this is going to increase out our damage range to the absolute max. Much like the Model L, this has an incredible damage range for its respective category. In this case being the SMGs, this thing is way out at the very far end of the overall damage range for SMGs. Puts you out to about that 17, 18 plus meter mark, which is really solid. The Jackal, for instance, falls around that 14 to just under 14 meters. So you got way more damage range than the Jackal. You'll be able to take people out, and you're gonna be able to hit all your shots because it's got no recoil. So after that magazine, we're gonna go down here and throw on Fast Mag 1. This gives you 50 rounds in the mag. Overall, if you want a little bit more mobility, you can go for Fast Mag 2. That's perfectly acceptable as well. But for me and my taste, I go for Fast Mag 1, as I like having that 50 rounds in the mag. I find it to be more than sufficient, and there's no other cons apart from that it says my magazine ammo capacity is a little bit smaller. I don't mind that at all. I still gain a bunch of pros of the ADS speed, sprint to fire, and reload quickness. Feels great to me, so I keep running it. Rear grip, we're gonna go down in here, and we're actually gonna go throw on that ergonomic grip. And what this is gonna do is give us that slide to fire, dive to fire, and aim down sight speed. I really enjoy actually having this on there just because slide to fire is such a huge thing in Black Ops 6 Warzone with having the Omni movement, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys are going to be slide canceling a little bit. Having a trash slide to fire is going to get you killed so many times. It's actually pretty ridiculous, and especially on an SMG when you're pretty much your goal is close range combat, you want to make sure you have a premium slide to fire, like a great time for that, and it does help with your ADS speed. That dive to fire, not something huge because we're not really diving a whole lot, but overall, the other two things are pretty crucial. Lastly, in the stock section, to finish off this build, we're gonna go in here and throw on that infiltrator stock. This is gonna give us that premium aim walking movement speed, which you can really utilize when you're gonna be shooting people, like, you know, strafing back and forth, and you're gonna be able to hit all your shots because you get that zero recoil going for you. So this is gonna be a great attachment here, and this is gonna make this a truly lethal build here for the PP919 that you guys need to use. For our next gun here today, we're gonna be using the XM4. This is your #1 assault rifle. It reaches all the criteria of being the #1 gun in the game, having a crazy good damage profile, zero recoil. I mean, it's got a good magazine size, good handling. So pretty much it checks all the boxes, and I'll give you guys the lowest recoil build here for it, which is essentially just the meta build, but I'll explain it anyways. So optics section, we're going to go in here. A couple options, much like we had for the Model L, which is the Kepler Micro Reflex. This is really solid, not my preference. You can go down here a little bit too, go for that Q spot reflex. What I always like to run is the Kepler Red Dot. I also just like the way it looks on the gun, so a little bit of visual preference from me on that one. So I really enjoy that, but you can also go down here and run that Jason Armory 2X or the Willis 3x. I think the Jason Armory and the Kepler Red Dot are going to be the most effective ways to use this thing, but not to say if the Willis 3x is something that you're comfortable using, then go ahead and use that, because it's not going to make or break your build. It's just going to function ever so slightly different because it has a bit more magnification, and that's really it. Muzzle section, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on that compensator here. I have questions from a lot of people that say, hey, you know, why are we not running the muzzle brake or not running the ported compensator? You can see this helps with your first shot recoil control, which is not an issue on the XM4s. That's just kind of a wasted pro, and then it helps your vertical recoil control as like a 2, but it's not nearly as much as the compensator because this helps you with the 3 greens. So this does the most for vertical recoil, which is what this gun has a lot of if you don't, you know, balance it right. And then the muzzle brake helps your first shot and your kick reset, but we don't really need that because we're not trying to get this gun to reset back to its spot. We're just trying to maintain good accuracy over prolonged periods of fire, which is what the compensator is used for. So you guys have to be running the compensator. Barrel section, we're gonna go in here and run that reinforced barrel. This is not like the Model L where you can get away with running that gain twist, or even something, I think maybe it's like the AMACE 85, you can run a different barrel, but on the XM4, you definitely need to increase out your overall damage range and your bullet velocity. It's not something you can go for only damage range or only bullet velocity. You're gonna be lacking one of the other 2 departments, so you have to go for the reinforced barrel. It is the best way to run this gun. I would prefer it to look a little bit of a different way. I'd prefer it to look maybe like the long barrel or the gain twist or something else a little bit cooler, but it is what it is. It's just a visual thing, so you have to go for this though to make it truly the most effective it can be. Underbarrel section, we're actually, my bad, not even going down to the underbarrel. We're gonna go back here. We're gonna go down into the magazine because we have something else that's gonna replace the underbarrel. So you can go for basically extended mag 2 or extended mag 3. Extended mag 3 gives you 100 rounds in the mag, which if you're playing a lot of big map BR, I know I see a lot of people that play big map, they like to run the 100 round XM4. I have been using it a little bit on Rebirth, or I did use it for a while, but overall I felt a little bit too sluggish, and because Rebirth's more of that closer quarters map, I felt kind of a little bit better when I was running extended mag 2 as opposed to 3, but like I said, for the optic, it is personal preference between the 2 of these. Choose one, whatever fits your playstyle and or the map you're playing, and you're going to be good to go. Lastly, for our final attachment, which is the recoil-based attachment, we got to go down here and use the very last one, which is the buffer weight stock. This is the one they added into the game, so if you guys don't have it unlocked, you definitely should be having it unlocked. I'm not exactly sure how to do that because I've unlocked it right away. So it might be an armory challenge or something else like that. But anyways, the buffer weight is going to give you the most possible for your vertical and horizontal recoil control. It just does the most, and it is what makes this gun the absolute best and the #1 overall assault rifle in Warzone. So this is the full build right here. you guys definitely need to try this. To complement that XM4 or the Model L, you can also use the Jackal PDW, which is coincidentally the other #1 SMG in the game. And we have a very little to zero recoil build for it. It's not like totally zero recoil, but it's gonna have almost none. So first thing, we're gonna go to the muzzle, throw on that compensator, help us out that vertical recoil control. Keep in mind, this build is more designed for recoil control, not as much being like hard meta, because the other builds differ and to have more mobility. It's what I would like to run, is something that's got more mobility, but for the purpose of this video, I'm just showing something that's got very little recoil. I'm showing you guys a bit of a different build for it. So the compensator is our first attachment here naturally. After that barrel, we're gonna go down here and throw in that long barrel. This is desperately needed for this gun. You have to increase out that damage range. If you don't do it properly, your gun is going to have pretty piss poor damage range, and you're not going to feel like you're hitting those good shots, and you're going to be getting outgunned a lot. So the long barrel really does make all the difference in the world, and I think you guys should be running this exclusively on this gun, not the reinforce or the gain twist, the long barrel. Underbarrel section, we're going to go use the very first one in here, which is that vertical foregrip, and this is going to help us the absolute most with your horizontal recoil control. If you guys want to substitute this out for something, I would say normally speaking, the more meta version or the more meta thing to do is to go for the Ranger foregrip down here, because that gives you horizontal recoil control and sprinting movement speed. So you really can't go wrong between using the Ranger or the vertical, but for pure recoil reduction purposes, the vertical foregrip will be better. After that magazine, we're gonna go down here and throw on Extended Mag 2. This is something that I personally like to run a lot. Extended Mag 2, I've been running this pretty much exclusively on my Jackal build for a while now. I did switch it out in one of my previous videos where I ran the 40 round mag, and I found that to be pretty solid because I just wanted to feel a little bit more agile, but generally speaking, 50 rounds is better because I'm playing quads and everything. So I'd say for the large majority of people, you should be running this on your gun exclusively. And lastly, we're gonna go all the way back here to the fire mods. We're gonna go through on the recoil springs, and this is gonna help you get the most out of your horizontal and vertical recoil reduction. Like I said, this is not the most meta way to build this gun in terms of straight mobility, but if you want the lowest recoil version of the Jackal PDW with a great damage range, this will be that for you, and you can run this as a straight up SMG for your your secondary, or as maybe a sniper support if you want to go down that route. But otherwise, there are other better options probably for a sniper support than the Jackal, but it is a great SMG nonetheless. So this is my full build right here that you guys should be running. Last but definitely not least, here in this top 5, we have the C9. Of course, that is on the thumbnail, and this is a more recently buffed SMG that's incredibly good that I think you guys should be trying out. It's great for ground loot, one of my favorite ground loot guns to pick up, but for the build here, we're gonna start this off with the compensator as per usual, that vertical and horizontal, or not horizontal, for exclusively for vertical recoil. Sorry, getting ahead of myself right there, but the compensator does the absolute most here. You guys should be running this. Pretty much these other two attachments on like 99% of the guns are going to be a little bit more useless, especially for the fully automatic ones. Barrel section, we're gonna go in here, throw in that long barrel, just increase that overall damage range. Pretty standard. Don't gotta explain this one too much. It makes it real easy when all these barrels are relatively labeled the same between the ARs, SMGs, so on and so forth. You just want to go for the long barrel on this thing. I kind of prefer the look of the reinforced, but it's not what makes it the best. So we're gonna go in here and throw on the long barrel. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go use that vertical foregrip, and this is gonna help us the absolute most with what I was trying to say earlier, horizontal recoil. So we have the compensator, we have the vertical foregrip. That's gonna do a heck of a lot. We still got more to help you guys out, but this will do the most here in this category. And like I said, for the Jackal, same thing applies here. For the Ranger foregrip, you can use this as well if you feel like you're more than confident, you want a little bit more mobility, because this does give you sprinting movement speed, which is pretty nice, and that's why I run it on all of my SMGs. But for the purposes of exclusive recoil control, this is what does the most. Magazine, we're gonna go down here and throw an Extended Mag 2. This gives you 50 rounds in your mag. I always just run this. No really real reason to run the 40. Doesn't do a whole lot. It's not like I feel like I'm that much faster or something else like that as opposed to running the 50. I just go for this, and I feel like this does the best for me. I have great success. I've dropped so many 30 and 40 kill games using the C9, using this setup. Or not this exact one, but a bit of a different one, but with this mag. That's what I'm trying to say. Lastly, for a final attachment, once again, gonna go for those recoil springs for horizontal and vertical. This is gonna make this gun feel very easy to use, and overall, I mean, you should be able to hit your shots, especially with that aim assist stuff kicking in. You should feel that this gun is very simple and easy to use. The iron sights are great, they're wonderful. So this is my full build right here, and of course, this is my top 5. You guys enjoyed the video, Give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on. Check out this other video on screen, and I'll see you all next time.